You know, I always thought moving to a gated community was the ultimate reset button. After my divorce, I wanted peace. I wanted quiet. I wanted to walk out my door in the morning, coffee in hand, and just listen to the world breathe. Tampa seemed perfect: sunshine, friendly faces, and the kind of neighbors who wave even if they don't know your name yet. I remember thinking, this is it, Mike. You finally made it. But let me tell you, life has a way of tossing curveballs when you least expect it. I'd spent years writing code, solving problems, fixing bugs. Never once did I imagine my biggest challenge would come from a homeowners association. Or, more specifically, from one woman who seemed to think the neighborhood was her personal kingdom. Her name was Patricia Wilkins. But around here, folks had another name for her, though maybe I shouldn't say it on camera. Let's just say, she was the kind of person who'd measure your grass with a ruler and leave a note if it was half an inch too high. I used to laugh it off. That's just Patricia, I'd say. She means well. Famous last words, right? Now, my boat, Sea Breeze, wasn't just a hobby. It was my escape. My therapy. Some people have golf, some people have gardening. Me? I have open water. There's nothing like it. The wind in your face, the sound of the hull cutting through the bay, it's freedom, pure and simple. I'd worked hard for that boat. Every paycheck, every late night at the office, every bug fixed and deadline met, it all led to Sea Breeze. But here's the thing about peace: it's fragile. Sometimes, all it takes is one person with too much power and too little restraint to shatter it. I started noticing little things. Notes on my door about unauthorized modifications. Warnings about improper storage. At first, I shrugged it off. I mean, who gets worked up over a boat cover or a garden hose? But these weren't friendly reminders. They were warnings. And they were piling up. I'd laugh about it with Tom, my neighbor. Maybe she just needs a hobby, I'd joke. Tom would shake his head and say, Mike, you don't know Patricia. We'd laugh, but there was always this edge to his voice, like he knew something I didn't. Then, one afternoon, everything changed. I came down to the dock, coffee in hand, ready for a quick sail. But Sea Breeze was gone. Just gone. The slip was empty, the ropes dangling in the water. My heart dropped. I spun around, half expecting to see her drifting off in the distance, but there was nothing. Just silence. And that's when I realized, this wasn't just about a boat. What started as a petty power trip was about to unravel into something much bigger. Something that would pull in the entire community, the authorities, and, believe it or not, the FBI. I know, it sounds unbelievable. But every word you're about to hear is true. After my divorce, I needed a reset. I'm not ashamed to say it, I was running on empty. I'd spent years glued to a screen, writing code, fixing other people's problems, and somewhere along the way, I forgot what it meant to just breathe. So, I packed up, left behind the noise, and found myself here, a quiet, gated neighborhood in Tampa, Florida. Do you ever get that feeling, stepping into a new place, like you're standing at the edge of a pool, wondering if the water's cold? That was me. I'd heard the stories, HOAs, rules, the occasional nosy neighbor, but honestly, I was just looking for peace. On weekends, I'd trade my laptop for the open water. My boat, Sea Breeze, wasn't just fiberglass and sails, it was my escape, my therapy, my reminder that life could still be beautiful. At first, everything was perfect. I mean it, picture those cheesy real estate ads, kids riding bikes, neighbors chatting over fences, the smell of fresh-cut grass. Evenings were quiet, sometimes just the sound of water lapping against the dock, maybe a distant grill sizzling. I'd sit on my porch, coffee in hand, thinking, this is what I needed. Now, let me introduce you to Tom, my neighbor and, soon enough, my confidant. Tom's the kind of guy who knows everyone's name, always has a story, and can fix anything with duct tape and a smile. We hit it off right away. He warned me, though, Mike, this place is great, but watch out for the HOA. And especially, Patricia. Tom, oh, Patricia. Let's just say, she takes her job real seriously. If your mailbox leans a little to the left, she'll notice. If your grass is too long, you'll get a note. But hey, it keeps us on our toes, right? And then there's Jenny, the HOA secretary, sweet, a little nervous, always clutching a stack of papers. She's the one who actually keeps things running, if you ask me. Jenny once whispered to me, Patricia's heart is in the right place, most of the time. We both laughed, but I could see the worry in her eyes. Jenny, we have a lot of rules, but it's about community, you know. Sometimes Patricia, well, she gets a little carried away. Now, Patricia Wilkins, our illustrious HOA president. She's the kind of leader who runs meetings like a general, not a neighbor. Always the first to arrive, last to leave, and never without that clipboard. Some folks called her Karen, not to her face, of course. She believed in order, in rules, and, apparently, in making sure everyone knew who was in charge. She'd make comments, too. It's just not right, Mike, that only a few people get to enjoy the marina. Boats should be for everyone. Maybe next time, you'll take me for a spin. She'd laugh, but there was something in her eyes, like she wasn't really joking. I laughed it off. I mean, who actually thinks someone would just take your boat for a joyride? I figured Patricia just liked to talk. Tom would nudge me, she's got her eye on you, buddy. I'd wave him off, yeah. Let her watch. I'm just here to sail. It started small. A warning here, a note there. Your hose is too visible. Your boat cover isn't regulation color. I'd joke with Tom, if she spent half as much time enjoying life as she does writing these notes, she'd be a lot happier. Tom would just shake his head, you don't know the half of it. But the notes kept coming. The meetings got tense. Patricia would bring up community fairness and shared resources, always glancing my way. Jenny would shoot me apologetic looks, mouthing, sorry. I'd just smile and nod. I started a collection, figured I'd wallpaper the garage with them. Tom said I should frame the best ones. Violation, lawn gnome exceeds height restriction. Who knew garden decor could be so controversial? But after a while, the jokes weren't as funny. The warnings got more specific. Patricia started citing obscure bylaws, referencing sections I'd never even heard of. Section 4.2, no personal property may obstruct community pathways. My boat was in my slip, exactly where it should be. One evening, I caught Patricia standing by the dock, clipboard in hand, just staring at sea breeze. She didn't see me at first. When she did, she smiled, tight, controlled. Lovely boat, Mike. Shame it's not being used more often. Some of us would love a chance to take her out. I laughed, a little uneasy. Maybe someday, Patricia. She just nodded, making another note. The tension was growing, but I didn't see it for what it was. I thought I was just another name on Patricia's list. I had no idea how far she'd go, or how quickly things would escalate. Looking back, maybe I should have taken those early warnings more seriously. Maybe I should have realized that, for some people, power isn't about keeping order, it's about control. And when someone like that sets their sights on you, well, you'd better be ready. You know, there are days that start off so normal, so routine, you'd never imagine they'd end with your world turned upside down. That was me, that afternoon. I grabbed my coffee, humming to myself, ready for a few hours on sea breeze. I walked down to the dock, still thinking about a bug I'd fixed the night before, and then my boat was gone. The panic hit instantly. I scanned the marina, hoping maybe I'd parked it somewhere else, maybe Tom had borrowed it, maybe anything but the truth. But no, sea breeze was gone. Vanished. I ran to the marina office. Has anyone seen my boat? Blank stares. Shakes of the head. No one had seen anything. There she was, Patricia. At the wheel of my boat, struggling to steer, looking like she'd just won the lottery. She was taking selfies, waving at the camera, ignoring the marina staff yelling at her to stop. She looked triumphant. Like she'd finally gotten what she wanted. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't a neighborly dispute. This was theft. I called the Coast Guard. I explained everything. My boat was registered, insured, and now, stolen by a woman who thought the HOA gave her the right to take what she wanted. Officer Martinez, when we caught up with the vessel, it was clear the operator had no idea what she was doing. She was weaving, ignoring channel markers, and nearly collided with another boat. We detained her for unauthorized use and reckless endangerment. It could have been a lot worse. When they brought her in, Patricia wasn't sorry. She was furious. She claimed she was borrowing the boat for community use. She waved a folder of papers in Officer Martinez's face, insisting the HOA had impounded the boat for violating community harmony. She actually said, "Your boat is now community property. You can sue me if you want, but by the time your case gets to court, that boat will be long gone. That's how these things work, Mr. Peterson." I was stunned. Furious. But I wasn't going to let her get away with it. I called Tom. He was outraged, but not surprised. "She's been pulling stunts like this for years," he said. But this time, she picked the wrong guy. Patricia wasn't done. She started harassing me, daily violation notices, threats of liens, even tried to get my power shut off. She tried to turn the community against me, painting me as the dangerous outsider. But I wasn't alone. Tom and Jenny, the HOA secretary, knew something was off. Jenny confided that Patricia had been creative with the rules for years, but this was beyond anything she'd seen. If Patricia could do this to me, what else had she done? I started digging. I combed through HOA records, financial statements, anything I could get my hands on. That's when I found it, a misdelivered IRS letter addressed to Patricia, marked urgent. My curiosity piqued. I started noticing strange expenses in the HOA books, rumors of missing funds, payments that didn't add up. Marco, financial records leave breadcrumbs. Even the smartest criminals make mistakes with money. If she's hiding something, we'll find it. Marco, a friend of Tom's, helped us dig deeper. We found that Patricia had faced foreclosure after her husband died, but then, suddenly, her finances turned around. She paid off her mortgage, bought a new Mercedes, and started taking lavish trips. The timing? It all lined up with her becoming HOA president. People don't just come into that kind of money out of nowhere. The more we found, the worse it got. Patricia was using her position to seize property, falsify board meeting minutes, and funnel HOA funds into shell companies. She'd even been selling residents' property, boats, cars, art, to a Miami fence named Rodriguez, who specialized in moving stolen goods out of the country fast. We set a trap. Ryan met Patricia, wearing a wire, and she bragged about her system, how she'd taken boats, cars, even art from troublesome residents. She named Rodriguez as her go-to guy for special sales. She even offered to throw in a rare painting for the right price. That was the break we needed. We turned everything over to Agent Chen at the FBI. He'd been tracking Rodriguez for years, but never had enough to move. Now, with Patricia's confession and the GPS data, he was all in. But Patricia caught wind of our investigation. She escalated, slashed my tires, smashed my mailbox, filed building code violations, even tried to list my house for sale without my permission. She called an emergency HOA meeting, accused me of being a threat, and tried to have me evicted. But this time, the community pushed back. Tom, Jenny, and other neighbors stood up for me. Jenny finally broke down and confessed to the board. Patricia had been embezzling from the HOA for years, using fake companies and selling off residents' property for personal gain. Patricia grew desperate. She tried to accelerate her plans, prepping my boat for a quick sail to Rodriguez. But I was ready. Using my custom IoT system, I triggered the boat's emergency alarm, horn blaring, lights flashing. Rodriguez panicked and tried to flee, running straight into the FBI's trap. Patricia tried to escape, clutching a USB drive, but I remotely locked her car doors. She was trapped until agents surrounded her vehicle. They found everything: cash, stolen art, falsified documents, evidence of years of fraud. Patricia's mask slipped completely. She blamed the board, the system, anyone but herself. But it was over. The FBI told me later, "Your boat led us to Rodriguez, and Rodriguez led us to one of the biggest art recovery operations in FBI history." Sometimes, justice takes time. Sometimes, it takes a community. And sometimes, it takes a little bit of tech, a lot of stubbornness, and the willingness to stand up when it matters most. When we handed everything over to the authorities, I'll admit, I was nervous. Would they believe us? Would they act? But as soon as the FBI got involved, things moved quickly. What started as a stolen boat unraveled into something far bigger than any of us imagined. The FBI agents told us, "This isn't just about your boat, Mike. We're looking at property theft, embezzlement, and even links to an art smuggling ring." I remember laughing, nervous, disbelieving. Art smuggling? Here. But they were serious. Turns out, Patricia's web stretched far beyond our little community. Fake vendors, shell companies, funds funneled out for years. She wasn't just taking from me, she was taking from all of us, and from people we'd never even met. Agent Chin. We see this more often than you'd think. HOA boards control a lot of money, and when there's no oversight, it's easy for someone to take advantage. Patricia's case stood out because of the art connections, rare paintings, antiques, all being moved through the same channels as the stolen funds. It was a textbook case of white-collar crime, with a twist. The day of the raid, you could feel the tension crackle through the air. I watched from my window as the agents moved in, no Hollywood theatrics, just quiet efficiency. Patricia tried to argue, to claim it was all a misunderstanding, but the evidence was overwhelming. They found everything: forged documents, stolen property, even a ledger listing every asset she'd moved: boats, cars, artwork, you name it. Tom, neighbor. I never thought I'd see the day. She always seemed untouchable. But seeing her in cuffs, it was like a weight lifted off the whole neighborhood. Jenny, HOA secretary. I felt guilty for not speaking up sooner. But I'm proud of what we did. We stood together. We did the right thing. It's strange. It all started with a boat. But it ended with a corrupt leader brought to justice, and a community learning to trust each other again. I'll be honest, there were moments I wanted to give up. The threats, the vandalism, the isolation. But every time I thought about backing down, I remembered what was at stake, not just for me, but for everyone who called this place home. Mrs. Alvarez, neighbor. We used to keep to ourselves. Now, we check in on each other. We talk. We care. That's something good that came out of all this. I learned that vigilance matters. That silence and apathy are what let people like Patricia thrive. And that when you stand up, even if you're scared, even if you're alone at first, others will join you. That's how real change happens. You never know what someone's hiding behind a smile, or a rulebook. But when good people stand up, justice can prevail. Our neighborhood isn't perfect. There's still work to do. But we've rewritten our bylaws, elected a new board, and brought in outside auditors. We hold open meetings, and every resident has a voice. We're healing, slowly but surely. If you're watching this and you're facing your own HOA nightmare, don't give up. Document everything. Find allies. Go to the authorities if you must. It's not easy, and it won't happen overnight, but it's worth it. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just about property or money. It's about dignity, trust, and the kind of place we all want to call home. If you've ever felt powerless against someone abusing their authority, I want you to hear me, you are not alone. I know how overwhelming it can feel when it seems like the rules are stacked against you, when the person in charge twists the system for their own benefit, and you're left wondering if anyone will believe your side of the story. I've been there. I've felt that frustration, that fear, that urge to just give up and walk away. But here's what I learned. Document everything. Every note, every conversation, every violation notice, keep a record. You never know when a small detail will make all the difference. When things started spiraling out of control, my paper trail was my shield. It wasn't just my word against hers anymore. It was evidence. It was true. And don't try to fight alone. Stand together. I'll never forget the night Tom knocked on my door with a stack of old HOA newsletters, or when Jenny quietly slipped me copies of the meeting minutes. When the community came together, we were stronger than any one person, no matter how loud or intimidating they seemed. Find your allies. Reach out. Sometimes the quietest voices are the ones that matter most. If things escalate, don't hesitate to seek help from the right authorities. There are organizations and legal resources dedicated to protecting homeowners from abuse and fraud. The FBI, local law enforcement, even state consumer protection offices, they exist for a reason. Don't be afraid to use them. It's not about causing trouble. It's about protecting your rights, your home, and your peace of mind. This was my story, but it could happen to anyone. Abuse of power doesn't care about your background, your job, or your zip code. It can show up anywhere, sometimes hiding behind a smile, a clipboard, or a set of rules. Don't let fear or intimidation silence you. Sometimes, the fight for justice starts with one small act of courage. Sometimes it's just a question, a conversation, a neighborly knock on the door. We rebuilt our community, not just by changing the rules, but by changing how we treat each other. We learned that trust is earned, that leadership is service, and that real strength comes from standing together. So if you're watching this, wondering if you should speak up, do it. If you're waiting for someone else to take the first step, be that someone. You might be surprised how many people are just waiting for a reason to join you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for believing. And remember, justice isn't just a word. It's a choice we make, together.